Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's full council meeting. Before we start, we've recently lost Peter Woodgate, one of our previous mayors, and I'd like us to all give a moment of silence for Peter. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll move on. So, this meeting will be live streamed through the council's Facebook page. Persons attending will be captured on film except when seated in the public seating area with the exclusion of the first row. Any speech may be picked up and broadcast. A fire alarm drill is not planned. In the event that the alarm sounds, please make your way out of the building using either staircase to the meeting point in Red Lion Yard and await further instructions. Councillors are reminded that to avoid the risk of being seen as predetermined or biased, they should consider all debate prior to deciding on how to vote on items of business. Urgent items for information only, can be brought to the attention of the committee at the discretion of the chairman at the end of the meeting. No decision can be taken on items not detailed on the published agenda. Please ensure mobile phones are turned off or to silent, which I'll do now. So before we go any further, I'd just like to express, I think I can speak for the council with this, our thanks to the emergency services for their attendance to the fire at Promise School yesterday. Our talks are with the kids that obviously are going to struggle for a while, and the teachers that are going to have to try and support them through it. And I'm sure as a council we will try and do all we can to support them moving forward. Business to be transacted. Apologies for absence. To receive apologies for absence.
Councillors Fisher and Lunch for personal reasons. Councillors Weeks and Ireland who aren't well.
Have a proposer? Councillor Cummings. Second, Councillor Bird. All in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? All in favour. Item 2. Declarations of interest. To receive disclosures of interest from councillors on matters to be considered at the meeting. The disclosure shall include the nature of the interest. If a member becomes aware during the course of the meeting of an interest that has not been disclosed, they must do so immediately. Councillors are reminded to ensure their register of interest form is up to date. Councillor Leach.
Large personal interest in 10.2 and 10.3 as under Western Borough Council.
Thank you. Councillor Neal.
Allotments.
Allotments. Thank you.
And likewise, the trustee of the charity that currently run the allotments.
Thank you. And you too? For the allotments? Yes. Okay. Got me questioning myself now then. For a moment, I'm all over. Thank you. Public participation. To receive questions or comments from members of the public, please note that decisions cannot be made on items not detailed on the agenda. Would you like to address the council on any matters?
Yeah, I kind of got a bit of I suppose more of a statement, and I'm not going to tie anyone to a response today because I think that's unfair. It's almost an ambush, isn't it? And I don't think generically that could provoke decent responses to a certain extent. But so members of the council, I'll speak to you today with the best interest of the town at heart. Our community deserves a future where the town centre thrives, not one that is dictated by nostalgia and ad hoc developments, as we're seeing so much through the town and narrow interests of a few individuals in the town. We have a beautiful town. The charm is one of our greatest assets, yet properties within the conservation area are being altered in ways that are not in keeping with the conservation guidelines, and the planning department and all the rest are allowing this to happen. These unregulated changes are eroding the character and appeal of the town centre and one of the very charm that makes our town attractive for residents and visitors. So the first point I'd like to raise is, do you have any interest in managing that and keeping on top of that to make sure we keep the charm of the town? At the same time, converting commercial properties into residential units and blocking opportunities such as the new Lidl in town undermines economic vitality. We risk turning our once thriving market town into a little more than a commuter hub. I use other examples of areas such as Columpton, although they do have the Tesco's. What we need is a clear commercial venture zone. I appreciate you dictated that out in the future plan for the area. However, it is quite narrow. A space where businesses can be established themselves, create jobs and bring spending into the town. We must support longer opening hours, encourage trade counters, and attract employers such as Tesco, Aldi and Lidl, regardless of what a few might feel. These are not luxuries, they're essential for keeping our town economically and society for the town vibrant. We cannot allow decisions driven by personal interests or short-term thinking to take the town, what belongs to the community as a whole. It is our responsibility to protect the town's charm, promote commerce and support growth. The time for the decisive constructive action is now. Anything less risks leaving the town behind. A couple of examples of these I appreciate as a group. I don't think we supported the new Lidls. As an individual, a Lidls will bring 40, 50 jobs. 40, 50 jobs are going to spend 40, 50 wages within town. I know as an individual and a parent, I drive to Crediton, Launceston. They're smaller areas in some regards, however they promote that vitality in the town. And while I'm there, I do all of my shopping. If we had local things like this, I'd be more interested and inclined to spend my money within town, within the smaller industries, rather than taking my money to the bigger areas. And that also goes alongside the swimming pools. Bits like that, where Crediton is constantly thriving, improving it, where ours is also deteriorating. And I just feel that our social aspect of our town is in a decline. And I'd like to know as individuals, like I said, I'm not holding you to comments today necessarily, but what are you doing to promote this going forward? Another example of that is the pavement for the new primary school. As Crediton did, they prompted the building of the infrastructure before properties were sold. What pressures are you putting on other aspects of the council to make sure that actually we're protected and we're protecting our futures rather than just going to an economic downturn?
Thank you very much. We'd like to come back to you with answers to all of your questions. So before you leave, if you leave your details, then I'm sure we can come up with some sort of conversation with regards to all of this.
Okay.
If you would like to, if you've got your statement there and you'd like to email it to me, that would be helpful as well.
I can be, yeah.
You can sit in on the meeting as well and wait until we finish perhaps.
Lovely job. Thank
Or
you.
or if not, I'd look at the town clerk's email, if you would.
Thank you.
That's very good, thank you. Have we had anyone write in or
No.
no? Okay, so we're going to move on to item 4, members' questions. To receive questions from members regarding the workings of the council. Any questions, members? Moving on. Item 5, West Devon Borough Council. To receive reports from West Devon Borough Council councillors, if present. We have three, sorry. Councillor Goffey, would you like to go first this time?
I will do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll pinch this microphone so that I know that you can all hear me. Right, you've had my report. I'm not sure if you've all read it. It's only short. I keep mine short, succinct and to the point. There is an addition to my report because this afternoon Councillor Dexter and I were in a meeting about the National Planning Framework, and Councillor Leach, about the National Policy Planning Framework. And this, I'm sure they will enlarge on it, but the two things that struck me was that West Devon Borough Council are now being, I won't say mandated, but forced to double the number of new houses they're going to build. Going to have to build 1,400 more houses. They have to have a 5-year land bank bank, and I pointed out you cannot keep having a 5-year land bank. We are an island. Sooner or later, we're going to end up in the sea, and not all land is suitable for building on. And my third thing is that neighbourhood plans, and I know this will interest some of you particularly, neighbourhood plans that were written up until now are basically redundant, and any neighbourhood plans that are being written are going to have to abide by the new framework. And also the housing is they're going to have to say where the houses are going to build, and they're going to have to designate sites and the number of houses they intend to build. So I think that's going to be food for thought for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coffey. Councillor Dexter.
Thank you, Mayor. I apologise for being a bit late at the start of the meeting, so no excuses.
I thought that was good timing, actually.
Thank you. Similarly, I'm not going to talk about in detail about the written report that you've got in front of you. But I did say that I wasn't going to talk about LGR ever again, and I've gone back on my word, unfortunately. But it's interesting that the government, I think this consultation theoretically on 5 solutions, we put forward 4 and the government threw in another one. I did ask the question of our Chief Executive whether the consultation was about the proposals put forward, and the answer was you'd better ask the government that. And this, I think, we're probably going to be in judicial review territory if they decide to do something else. The other one, I went to, there's a very good seminar, or symposium it was called this morning, West Devon Borough Council, and what we're trying to do is to continue the support that we're giving to the tourism industry. And that's, I think I said something about this before, that this is against the background of falling tourist numbers over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years, and it's trying to engage the local businesses to find out views on the ground about how the council can help to promote local businesses. And I'm happy to say that Oakhampton was very well represented at that symposium. There's a consultation going on at the minute. This is also the environment of a withdrawal of government support for local businesses. It's a national policy. So, as I said in my report, we are trying, that West Devon Borough Council are trying to make up for that shortfall, but we know we have to both make up financially, but also to actually try and make that get more bang per buck. So we need to understand and engage, and there's some very good suggestions made about increasing the level of ground level cooperation between businesses to get a sort of a whole holistic tourist view. So, if you like, the tourist experience is increased, but no particular cost to individual businesses. Businesses working together can promote one another and help one another, and also help the tourists. So, I think there's lots there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dexter. Councillor Leach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too said a report. I will apologise for the fault because it wasn't printed this afternoon, but it didn't actually fit the page. No, but I think it's basically okay. I won't go through all of that. I'll just highlight one or two things. The first one, which came from a meeting here a few weeks ago, about the proposed shop on, I still call it Parcel 2. I contacted our head of planning because I thought it was all part of the 106 agreement, shop should be built, but that's not the case. It is actually a condition that the shop is built, so they have to build one. But the biggest issue is the size of it. It needs to be a bit bigger to get more people interested. So head of planning is looking at that. I've tried to get our business officer to look at that, to help the developer to find somebody who could use it. So I thought I'd mention that. Now, the general footpaths are, as my report, when it comes to the LGR, and I know we wants to talk about it, but it's just a reminder that consultation on the options is running now. But it must be noted that the government has recently changed their original conditions for submission. And now we're looking at options that go outside existing boundaries, and where we had 4 options to choose from, we now have a 5th. So we now have the 145 plus 1, and the plus 1 is the extension to Plymouth. Now it's the government who's put this forward. Nobody in Devon has put this forward. The government must know about it, and they've decided that has to be one of the choices. Whether that puts up any flags, I don't know, but I think it's worthwhile looking at. I've put in a couple of reports that have come through, which I thought might be useful, especially to see about using up money for the disability facilities grants, and how many houses that West Devon has converted for those who have disabilities, and the sort of costs involved. There's something not many people know about. It's not West Devon's money that comes down from elsewhere, it comes down to the government. I think that Devon County, they can distribute it out, but that shows the roles for that. I put a thing in about the budget that was discussed last week and agreed by all councillors for next financial year. And 2 things at the end, which is it's been agreed that a voluntary disclosure and borrowing service, DPS, for checks for West Devon election members will be introduced within some reason. It's going to be coming forward as from April. I've already put my name forward because when I was chair of standards, I pushed for this for all councillors. That saves Garston and the councillor, but the residents as well. And we shouldn't be afraid of it. So I thought that was a bonus. Lastly, on here, about the castle. Now, the castle, as did publicised, will be open so many days a week as from April. At the moment, there's 3 volunteers who volunteered to open the gates and close the estate. I'm one of them. And it can open from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with those 3 people. They need at least 1 more person to open Mondays and Tuesdays. There could be said that week, free of charge, opening. This is probably controversial. When the castle is moved to be closed, there was a big uproar, save up castle, etc., etc. But as soon as they go out for volunteers, they get through. There must be someone else in the town, a couple more, or have someone that's a spare who could at least help to keep our castle open free of charge. It's not onerous. If it was, my wife wouldn't let me to do it. It's quite clear. But I think that's it. The fire, of course, that's the biggest thing of the day. And it's kept me quite busy through that. I agree that, the fire service and the other services have been absolutely brilliant. And seeing that a light through Facebook and things like that It must have been hellish time. And I read late this afternoon, probably 2 days for getting it fully under control. But there are big questions, and the inquest on this needs to come very soon, because a brand new building shouldn't be able to catch fire and burn as quick as it did. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Leach. So, item 6, Devon County Council. Devon County Council isn't here, so we will move on. Item 7, questions arising from member reports. Questions arising from West Devon Borough Council and Devon County Council reports in relation to items as presented to the meeting to be summarised and recorded by the clerk for forwarding to the relevant persons. Councillor Richards.
This is a question through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Tony Leach. Personally speaking, when I read and showed your notes to my wife, Jane Albermel, who, as you may know, has been running a campaign on the new developments related to the shop, we thought we were delighted to read what you had written in this paragraph, because my wife, as part of her activities within Transition Town Movement, is very anxious to see that particular shop become a community shop, and with the opportunity of an area which might be used for other purposes, such as a playgroup. And the idea that it could be a smaller venue, which would be ideal for a community shop, was something that she thought would be absolutely great. And therefore, can I, through the chair, through the mayor, etc., pass on to you her delight at seeing the paragraph, and to make the point that if it were to stay at the size that is proposed, and that it was going to be built by the developers and made available, then we believe that we would have the community to support to run it as a community shop. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Richards.
Noted.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Moving on. Item 8, adoption of minutes for committees to receive questions from members thereon. 8.1, Parks.
I'd like to propose that members adopt the minutes for the Parks Committee meetings held on the 17th of November and the 1st of December 2025, and as chairman to receive questions from members regarding the workings and decisions made at this committee meeting. And the seconder, please.
Councillor Bird to second. All in favour? That's unanimous. 8.2, Planning Committee.
I'd like to ask the Council to adopt minutes of the Planning Committee meetings held on 1st of December 2025, 12th of January 2026. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Have a seconder. Councillor Richards. All in favour? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on. Item 9, full council meeting minutes. To receive, sign and approve the minutes of the town council meetings held on the 13th and the 19th of January 2026. Have a seconder. Councillor Bird, all in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Item 10, projects and consultations. 10.1, local government reorganisation. A, to consider any updates for further information received.
There is the consultation that is out. There is a response from Devon County Council with the questions that were posed by this council about their option. You've got the content of that there, and I don't have any other updates other than that.
Thank you. Anyone got anything they wish to say on this matter? Okay, move on to B. See the correspondence from West Devon Borough Council in relation to potential acquisition of assets.
So since the council put forward their proposals of things of assets they might like to acquire, and that was requested quite quickly back before Christmas, the response from West Devon after chasing it is as is there, so it's going to be delayed. And as I understand it, West Devon will be considering an asset policy at a meeting next week.
Thank you. Councillor Leach.
I should declare interest on this. Yes, I spoke to the officer involved, and this policy has been written, but then has to go before council, and that won't come until everybody else. And just going backwards, because we've got something. This MPPF change, sorry to do this now, it was para 14, which was discussed today, and a briefing notice of what was said today is going out to all towns and parishes soon.
Thank you, Councillor Leach. Councillor Cummins.
Yeah, on the assets, forgetting the ones that we inquired about, I stated that I had a number of people that were interested in looking at some of the other areas. They wouldn't be prepared to purchase it as such, but they would be prepared to look after it, and would like through the assets side of things to understand whether that would be a possibility for these people to take on and just manage and take over without the purchasing of their land or anything.
Through West Devon, it won't be, because it won't belong to West Devon after the LGR. Through us, if we are able to inquire it, possibly, yes. If they don't transfer it to us and it goes to the unitary, no idea.
Once again, it's all up in the air until we know what's going on.
Okay. Through the chair, it's a shame because there are a number of groups within the community that are interested in putting planted beds in areas, flowers and certain areas. And some of the sites that we looked at that were too small for us to deal with or of interest, they would be an asset that would help improve the town and the area around it. And we have people that are ready to move now. It's a shame that we've got to go through the red tape side of things, but it's frustrating for people.
I agree, it's very frustrating.
It's brilliant if there are people who want to already take this up, and I would suggest they get in contact with West Devon directly through there to explain to them that and see if there is an option for them to start picking things up. It might be a sensible way forward. And then when the government review takes place and the new council is formed, then that presumably would enable that to continue if there's already something already in place. So it might be worth them contacting West Devon direct.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yellen. Any more comments on this? Okay, we'll move on again. Right, C is to consider a response to the government consultation which closes on the 26th of March 2026. Councillor Richards.
We note that the council made a decision that it would not be making a response as a council, and that it was up to our individual councillors to make a response. Okay, I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the council that I thought the information passed on to us by Councillor Leach that the government themselves had put forward a proposal was exactly in line with my thoughts and thinking, that what had happened as a result of the inability of virtually any of the proposers to actually come up with a proposal that met the requirements laid down by the Secretary of State, it came as no surprise to me that the government has actually put forward their own proposal. And in my personal opinion, if you read that proposal carefully, it clearly indicates the thinking of the government about what is going to happen in Devon. That is, they realised that the one Devon for everything would be too large an organisation at 1,400,000, and their solution to it would seem to be quite simple and practical. That is, they allow Plymouth to expand on its own so that it can reach maybe 500,000 or 600,000 people, thus reducing the rest of Devon to around the 1 million mark. And this would be the model as has been adopted in Dorset, where you have Bournemouth, Poole and Christchurch as the urban area and the rest of Dorset as a unitary. And in my personal view, I think that will be what the government will decide, and that thought has underlaid a lot of my thinking about our response to all the wording and the thoughts that are coming out from other places. Thank you for the opportunity to make that point.
Thank you, Councillor Richard. Okay, moving on.
So can I just clarify that you're not responding to that in any way?
Councillor Cummings.
I think it would be very difficult to reach a conclusive response because there's so many different opinions amongst the council. So therefore it would be pointless us responding as a full council. We should respond as individuals.
Would you like us to take a vote on it, Madam Clerk, as to whether or not we want to do a council response?
I think it might be worthwhile.
Can I have a proposer for that? Councillor Cummings, a second. Councillor Tolley, all in favour?
This is for us to respond as individuals.
This is for us to vote, isn't it?
That the council doesn't want
Doesn't
us
want
to
to.
make
We don't want to make, yeah. So this is for the council to respond that we don't want to make a response. Just so that we know for sure.
Yeah.
That's all. So all in favour of not responding? 5 against? 2, 3 abstentions? 1. Okay. So not to vote, not to respond. Sorry. Thank you very much. Right, 10.2. Community governance boundary change, to consider any updates or further information received.
The notice to go in with the tax bills has been agreed, and that will be going out in March. West Devon have now confirmed that they've got all the information they need from both councils in order to make the order. And we have got some information now where we can start thinking about the precept arrangements, but they have also confirmed that we cannot do it incrementally because every property within that boundary has to be charged with the same council tax. So we need to look at how we can do some modelling on that. So that we'll be looking at that in the coming weeks. So they have said, make the order ahead of time. So the order could be made at any time to commence at the stated date in April, May. I have asked for a date when that might take place, but they haven't responded to that, so the council could officially perhaps write to them and ask for that information. Because the sooner it's done, the better. It's one less job for West Devon to do. It's ticked off the list and it's ready to go.
Is that your recommendation? So, as a
I put that in
council,
the paper.
yeah, so as a council, are we happy to move forward with that recommendation? Yeah, I'm just going to come to Councillor Young in a second. I'll come to you now, Councillor Young.
Thank you. No, it's a question. Under item 10.2C, which is talking about that all properties within a parish are legally required to be charged the same council tax in accordance with their planning, which means that incremental increases over a number of years cannot be levied. I'm a bit confused about this. When I was on West Devon and we were looking at West Devon and South Hams becoming one, it was made absolutely clear that the lower council tax area could have their council tax increased incrementally. So I'm curious as to what has changed and why, or if it's because it's at the parish level rather than the district level. Do we know why? Because this is significant. I mean, we went forward with the community. Well, I mean, it was needed, but we also went forward on the basis that the properties coming in to within the town wouldn't have an enormous great hike in their council tax, but would be able to do it gradually, with the towns being correspondingly reduced gradually to equalise it. So I'm a little bit confused as to why this is now suddenly something different.
That was my understanding as well. So when I queried that, the answer was that they seemed to think that they misunderstood what we meant, and that it could be increased incrementally if we used our reserves to drop it our precept significantly, and then gradually increase our precept back up to the amount that we need.
So just for clarification then, we would have to be the of two merging councils, then we would need to be the one rather than the, okay. Right. No, we haven't got enough resources.
No.
Okay, thank you.
That was as I understand it, that was what I thought we meant. But I have got a spreadsheet. Now, so we can start looking at what the figures might be and whether we can offset any of it, reduce it a little bit, or whatever. With something we need to think about in the coming months. But we should have more accurate database tax-based figures in around about May. So I haven't started looking too hard yet because we won't start our budgeting until around the summer anyway. But West Devon will happily work with us on that, they've said.
Thank you, Councillor Richards.
Do I understand correctly through you, Mr. Mayor, that the information that you received, has this come from, shall we say, a source which is backed by legal status, or is it a source which is purely financial?
In what way do you mean?
Well,
Source for what?
I have to say, what I'm saying is that as I have no faith in the legal decision that was made by West Devon Borough Council regarding the refusal to allow us to do the neighbourhood plan, and given my colleagues, but possible that there is possibility that they could come to an incorrect decision, I think we would be failing the people that we're taking on, which I have to declare an interest would include me. But I think we would have to, as a council, look into this matter a little bit more deeply, and because we can identify that they're not capable of making legal decisions or lawful decisions, we should adopt the view that we should go find ourselves by asking the question. Because if I understand correctly, let's say for argument's sake, we are being in the fortunate or unfortunate position, whichever way you look at it, of having about another £200,000 that we weren't expecting added to our income,
It
something like that.
It doesn't work like that because we only ask for the income that we need. We don't get more money. The income that we need is spread around extra properties. So what it will mean is that the precept for the properties that are currently within the Oakhampton town boundary will probably decrease.
Exactly.
So we won't get more money because we will still only ask for the money that we need. We won't ask for money on top of that, so we won't have more money coming in. We will still have the same amount.
I trust you can see, although I understand that this is a complex discussion and a complex calculation, especially if there are people listening in, I trust you can see, as I can see, the unfairness of what you've just said. And not that you're responsible, I'm saying that the unfairness of what you have, you've said. In other words, those in the new developments who are coming in will be required to pay more, and those who are already living in the town will be in the position of paying less because the newcomers are paying more. That's the best way I can put this, and that is not acceptable.
They will all be paying the same.
They will all be
paying the same.
You would agree with me that the residents of, say, South Ward would be paying less in the coming year than they are this year.
Potentially.
Yes, exactly. And I think the residents, the new people coming in, who I am forced to represent, would be up in arms about this. And therefore I think I stand by my original statement, which is please would the council consider taking independent legal advice to establish whether what you have been told is in fact correct, and that possibly what our colleague councillor believes is correct is in fact the case, because we have clear evidence of West Devon Borough Council Legal Department not making decisions correctly many times, and therefore I personally would not be in favour of just allowing this to go through. I would certainly be complaining and taking it further if necessary, unless we as a council actually take the time to find out whether that decision was in fact the correct one. Thank you.
Councillor Bird?
Just to clarify, I think what I understand is that at the moment, town council, the people in the town are paying a higher rate of council tax, and the people in the parishes are paying less. And when people in the parishes become part of the town council, we will all then start paying the same.
No.
Yes.
That
is the correct.
That is not correct.
So we'll all be paying the same. So
yes.
what it means is that those in the town have been paying more, and they will have less to pay. And those in the parish council have been paying less, but they will then just come up and be paying the same. So everybody will be paying the same. So it's an equal fair taxation for everybody. That's what I understand. You're not next.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Please may I come back on that when you're ready?
I wanted to just clarify what I said right at the start, and that may have been misinterpreted. I wasn't disputing that what West Devon information that was given to us at the time was not legal. Nothing was said about that any offset would need to come out of reserves, and that might have been, if we'd gone further down the route of merging the two councils, that might have been made clear at the time, but we didn't. That was stopped, so it didn't happen. So it is very possible. I mean, I'm not saying that West Devon weren't making a legal decision. I'm not saying that at all. I wouldn't dream of saying that. I'm not on West Devon, and I'm not, West Devon councillor, nor my legal advisor in council matters. So I just wanted to absolutely clarify that, just to make that absolutely clear, so nobody misunderstood what I was saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Councillor Richards.
I'm sorry to come back on this one. The situation, I understand what Councillor Bird is saying, and my objection to what you're saying is not that I do not understand, it's not that I don't understand that when we have merged, that the amount that we will be paying on a C band will be the same. That I fully understand. The point I'm saying no to is that in 2026, a C band in South Ward will be paying, shall we say, £200, and in 2027 it will be paying not £200, precept by the way, £200, but 180. Therefore, I am saying to you that the increase in what is being paid by a new home, the new development home, is funding the decrease in the home in the South Ward, and that is what I'm objecting to. And I can understand why, just as I am objecting to paying more, there will be people who live in the South Ward who will say, great, hey, thank you very much, we're paying less. But I am saying, please can we investigate as a council that whether or not this decision was absolutely correct. I have no faith that it was.
So I'm going to throw my 2 pennies worth in here. So my understanding is that, yes, the new development will be paying more. And the older development, which was originally the town council, or within the town council, will be paying slightly less. But for the entirety that the new development has been in development, the residents of the town have been subsidising the new development. So, in my point of view, this is balancing the scales. And I think we're going to leave it at that. You need
If you, my recommendation is on there that we write to West Devon asking for a timescale for the order being made, suggesting it's done by, say for example, the end of May. But then that's up to the council whether they wish to make any resolutions.
That's actually what I was going to move. I was just, because this is, the decision has been made regarding the boundary review. That's already been done, that's already been decided. And so I was going to move the recommendation that Oakhampton Town Council officially writes to West Devon Borough requesting the order be made within a timescale, for example, by May 2026, when it will come into effect in 2027.
Do you want to give a timescale for that, asking for?
What, for them to
Well, I
respond?
suggested by May, but
It gives them in March, April, that's giving them 3 months. So yes, by May.
by the end of May.
Yeah. So that would be resolution that I'm moving.
Although I don't disagree with what's been said, when we started this process, we sat around the table with West Devon Borough Council, and we asked specifically that we knew that this increase was going to happen, and we were looking to see that being done on a step-by-step basis, so it would lessen the impact on the hamlets areas. And they're now saying that that's been eradicated, yet when we was going through this process, that was one of the biggest parts of our discussions, to make sure that the hamlets people were being treated fairly. So I'm just making sure that I've got my facts right, that they're now saying that that is not possible.
They said that they misunderstood how we put it.
Misunderstanding, after all the discussions that we had around that table about this, put it into a format, I don't see how they could have misunderstood what they said. I can't go with what's going on, but I just find that a little bit difficult a pill to swallow, because we actually put it in words where we did it as a consideration, like if you was in a job evaluation process and your wages were being lessened, you would be put into a red circle banding, and we put that example across so that the decreases would be made, the increases would be made over an incremental period. And that's been said, oh, they misunderstood. We spent, at those meetings, there was probably the best part of an hour on each meeting discussing this issue. I just find it difficult to accept. I have to say.
I was somewhat taken back by it as well. So we have a proposal from Councillor Young. Do I have a second?
I would be happy to second, but I wonder whether within our response we also add in our disappointment that we can't do as we'd asked and do that incremental increase. Because I think it's a point that we need to feedback that we were very clear with our ask. They did say yes, and now they're saying no, and I think that to and fro of communication is important, in my view.
I was just going to add in that actually this side of it, that is something that is going to have to be worked out. That's separate to the making of this order, because it's been agreed that the boundary will change. This was all part of the detail of how it was kind of going to work operationally, essentially, how it was actually going to happen. So I definitely agree that we're quite happy that we, aren't happy with the fact that is now no longer possible. But that doesn't really make any difference to this request in the order. We can't delay this order. It's going to come into play in, 1st of April or 3rd of May, whatever it is, in 2027. The boundary will change. So to actually get this order made within a reasonable timescale, but forloaded with its date, because West End are clearly going to be caught up with other things with the government reorganisation, so it makes sense that they get it out of the way from their end, and we've then got that security. So that's why I'm moving that we do that. I think this whole issue regarding the way the precept is going to be handled is something that we certainly need to address, but I don't think it's part of this order, as far as my understanding is. Mr. Clark is able to tell me differently. That's my understanding. It's not part of this order. This order is just part of the legal process for the boundary change, and the rest of it is the detail that needs to be worked out, and that certainly needs to be worked out.
So I'm happy to propose that we do that communication back to West Edinburgh Council about getting the dates in right.
Will you accept a proposal subsequently about to put to the council as whether we should ask for legal opinion on what we discussed?
Do one at a time.
Yeah.
Please.
So we'll vote on the proposal.
Yeah.
And then we'll come to a consensus on that as well.
Exactly.
So we have a proposal, we have a second, all in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? One abstention. So do you need us to make a proposal to come back to that? Yeah. So, Councillor, would you like to propose that?
I would like to propose that this council seeks legal opinion on the validity of a statement that the precept cannot be raised incrementally.
Thank you.
Can I just ask some clarification on that one, because I think this is possibly where we've got into a muddle already. It can be raised incrementally, I think, if we use our reserves. That's what West End are saying. So in other words, I think the question you're asking is if it can be raised incrementally and applied at the collection of council tax with that shortfall, or however you want to put it, actually resting with the residents, because we don't have reserves. So irrespective of what the answer is, we don't have enough in reserves to do it anyway. So I think perhaps can we just clarify?
As a point of clarification, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I am saying that we seek legal opinion. It may well be that the legal opinion comes back that this is the only route, but the legal opinion could say that that which we have been advised and told is not correct, and that is why I am asking that I'm proposing that we seek that legal opinion. I don't know what the outcome will be, but I'm asking if we could, shall we say, spend the money and get that legal opinion on behalf of the.
That's at cost then.
Yeah, that's effectively what I'm saying. I think we owe it, if I may say, that we have been seen to do the right thing in protecting the situation of the residents coming in from the new developments.
Councillor Bird.
So in order to do that, does that mean that the residents of the town council, as is now, their town council tax would be reduced? If we went with their suggested West End, they'd be reduced, parish would come up and they meet in the middle. But if we do an increment for the parish, then does that mean we have to do an increment in decreasing for the town council, which means that the town council residents will continue to pay more than the parish residents. So then we may well get the backlash of the unfairness from the town council residents because they are continuing to pay more than the parish residents. And so therefore, are we actually representing our people because we're still doing that division of inequality? That's my question.
Mr. Mayor, I am not attempting to prejudge. What I'm doing is asking that the council look into the legal situation and establish whether it is whatever is being proposed is being dealt with in the best and correct way. We owe it to the residents of the town and the new developments to ensure that whatever decision is made was the correct one, and one that we cannot be held over the coals at a later stage for not doing our job properly.
You've got a proposal.
So we have a proposal, Councillor Richards. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councillor Cummins to second. Okay, all in favour? All against? Abstentions?
Carried. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Moving on.
Very politically, may I say, to you, sir, very diplomatically done.
Wasn't my intention, just what I did.
Could you excuse me, please?
Absolutely, Councillor Hull, please feel free to leave.
Okay.
Thank you. 10.3.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, am I right?
You're right. You're right.
For once, just for a change. Excellent. Right, 10.3, neighbourhood plan. To consider feedback, if received, from West Devon Borough Council.
There isn't any, but I've started drafting a letter to send to them, asking for this to be moved on officially now because it's been a while since we've heard anything. We need to move it on.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Cummings?
Taking into the consideration the information received from our West Edinburgh councillors about the national planning framework and the changes that are affected by that and the changes that will have an impact on the neighbourhood plan, we need to have the updated information as well so that we can move this forward. We are keen to do this in the right way. We were aware of the number of houses that were potentially going to be imposed on us no matter what. But I'd like to have a full understanding of it's all right getting the houses put here, but what are the government preparing to do about the infrastructure that supports the houses and the jobs and the retail and various other aspects that go along with that decision. Because it's great to say we want 140, 150, 200,000 houses in the area, but without the right infrastructure, without the right support around it, it's pointless happening. And trying to find the land, we all know that the town will expand more towards Exeter than anything else. So, under the national planning framework, which we have no control over, we need to be aware of what we do and how we do this process and make sure that we've got the right information.
Thank you, Councillor Cummings. Councillor Young?
There was last week, was it Wednesday evening? I think it was Wednesday evening, DALC ran a training session for parish councillors, which everybody had the opportunity to attend, which was about neighbourhood planning and design codes, is what it was actually called. The chap was delivering it as a planner, and it was quite interesting what he had to say. So he was talking about changes to the MPPF, and actually some of what he was saying was actually contradicting what the report we just had, simply because he was saying that the MPPF is removing, there's a phrase in there talking about vision, neighbourhood plans having a vision, and that's being removed. What this chap was actually saying was that neighbourhood plans will no longer be able to do allocations. It's going to be more about design codes, because things are going to be far more centralised from a government perspective as far as planning and development is concerned. And that what he was suggesting is that neighbourhood plans should be looking at what development looks like rather than where it is or how many there actually are. I did ask the question as to the validity of going ahead with neighbourhood plans when the MPPF is clearly being changed and is in flux, but he did say, well, as long as you haven't got any allocations in there, carry on. So, which did strike me as a little bit right. But I just thought I haven't got my notes from it, didn't know that they were going to be needed, so I just thought I'd just report back in on that actually, because I think this is something where we need clarification, because clearly the briefing you've had is very different, that in actual fact there's going to be more, we knew that anyway, a lot more houses, but it is still, from what you're saying, it's not necessarily going to be quite so nationally imposed. But doesn't make a lot of sense really, getting mixed messages, I think.
Thanks, Councillor Yellen. I personally find it fascinating that devolution means greater centralisation. There you go. Councillor Cummings?
Yes, taking into consideration Councillor Yellen's comments, I've been following various formats and doing my research with the development plans and various stuff. The MPPF is changing considerably, and so the way that I've read parts of it, it's almost like the public are not going to have a say in any form, and as a council we won't be able to have a say, and I find that absolutely frustrating, because a lot of the stuff that we cherish, that we fight as a council and here to try and preserve, they're just going to allow developers to override. That's frightening. I know it's aimed at the bigger building sites, but it will have an impact on the smaller right the way through the town. So it's worrying.
Thank you, Councillor Cummings. Councillor Leach?
Yeah, as I said, this briefing will be coming, and you'll hear it soon, or you'll be told. But from the two things I've gleaned from this afternoon, which was interesting in itself, up until now, the only way you could put a development boundary on your area is through neighbourhood plans. Under these new rules, or under this particular section, that's seen as restrictive. So it's no good putting it in and saying, that's it, that's all that was Greenbelt. You can say what you want as Greenbelt, but you shouldn't have something that's restrictive. And when it comes to allocating sites, you've got to do all the work if you do allocate a site. And you've also got to state how many houses you intend to build, and you have to, as a neighbourhood plan, make sure they're built. So the onus goes to that. But most of the plans that have been put forward so far, and that are still going forward, don't put forward any land at all, which goes against what the government wants if you have a neighbourhood plan. And it seems to me double dealing. In one hand, they're saying this is what you've got to do, but if it's restrictive, you can't do it. When it comes to amount of houses, you can go to West Ham and say, right, how many houses are we supposed to build in our patch? And they'll do a percentage of the whole and say, well, that's a percentage of the whole, that's it. Is it needed? Probably not. I'll draw people to this part of the country, but what's needed is true social housing. The other part, lots of the policies can be used in neighbourhood plan, types of houses, green spaces, density, that sort of thing you can put into it. But I think we all need to read the briefing we've had. You'll fully understand what's being proposed, but you'll get a better understanding than we had with just an hour on it. And that's only a bit of what's happening to the whole area, which is a much bigger.
Anyone got anything more they'd like to add to that? Okay, we're going to move on. Lloyds Bank closure, to consider any updates, including correspondence from Sir Mel Stride MP.
As requested at the last meeting, I contacted Mel Stride again and asked him to send comments back. And he's confirmed last week that he's still waiting for a response from Link, but he is pushing for a response. So I don't have anything particularly to update.
Anyone else have anything to add to that? I've been contacted by various people recently with regards to this, and a lot of people are very concerned by it. I've tried to assure them that we're doing the best that we can to try and get a hub in place, but also made it quite clear to them that that's not what Link want. So, Councillor Cummins.
I separately contacted the MP for South Hams who raised the question in the House and asked if we could get together or form a much wider rural network from across the country to continue to fight for banking hubs throughout the country. I also contacted Link about the banking hub. They said the decision had been made and it would not be reconsidered for another 12 months. So we are trying other avenues to try and force the issue. I've not heard back from the MP in the South West because obviously I'm not a constituent of that area. I thought she might respond on the balance of things, but I'll try again.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cummins. Anyone else have anything to add to this? No? Moving on. Allotments. To consider an update in relation to the lease and other arrangements.
No update other than a draft lease is expected soon.
Thank you very much. Moving on again, 10.6. Devon and Somerset Fire and Rescue Service to consider a response to the Community Risk Management Consultation, which closes on the 9th of April 2026.
Again, this is one you can comment on as individuals. You don't have to make council response if you don't wish to.
Councillor Cummins.
I think it would have more weight if it was done on an individual basis rather than as a council. We've seen how well they work in the last 24 hours. So we should be supporting them and giving them the right feedback as an individual. I think as pulling together our common thoughts would be a difficult thing to do. That's my personal opinion.
I think I agree. Thank you very much, Councillor Cummins. Has anyone else got anything more they'd like to say on this? Excellent, we'll move on. Item 11, Oakhampton Castle. Tonight, from the 1st of April 2026, the castle will be open to the public for free entry Wednesdays to Sundays, 10 AM to 4 PM. And guided tours will be available to book between April and October. Councillor Leach.
Yeah, as I said earlier, they've got volunteers to be able to do the guided tours. They've got volunteers who can do the guided tours, they've got volunteers who can go and do inspections of different sites, just like a key keeper. And they have 3 volunteers. I'm not saying my wife was ecstatic when I said that, I was one of them. But I said, the reason I've, put my name forward. It's when I moved my whole family to this town for that council. So it's quite close to my heart. And I want to see it not open for its own sake. The more people who can go through it, I think it makes it better for security. They've done all the risk assessments, they think that's all fine. But more importantly, I've done it for the town. The more we can keep that castle open and guarantee it's open free, the more people come to the town and hopefully spend. So I think that is good for the economy. So the reasons I put my head above the parapet yet again. But I really am saying, please, someone out there, if they've got Mondays and Tuesdays spare, sort of half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening, please come forward.
Thank you, Councillor Leach. Yes, and thanks for volunteering, by the way, on a personal note. Right. Anyone got anything more to add to that? Okay, moving on. Item 12, Devon County Council Regeneration Board to receive a report from Councillor Tolley, the council representative, following a meeting on the 20th of January to consider nominating a councillor to represent the council on a subgroup investigating the creation of a farmers market within Oakham. It's a bit of a mouthful, that.
I gave a report to the Parks Committee meeting last week, the week before, on behalf of the Regeneration Board. There were such things discussed on the 20th with regard to the bid. There was an employment fair, which I understand went very well. I'm only repeating this because somebody didn't come to that meeting. West Devon Business talked about commissioning 2 tourism symposiums, which I think Councillor Lex had been to. Talked about the dessert factory demolition, also regarding Lidl's and the transport hub and stuff. But the thing that came out of it was there was a subcommittee meeting of the Regeneration Board, which was held before Christmas, to focus on providing a farmers market in Oakhampton. It needs wide support, and they were asking whether the town council in particular should be included in the plans. It should focus on local farm produce and should not detract from the existing craft market, whichever one they have in Red Lion Yard. The bid aren't able to take on the role. We haven't got a manager and it's outside their remit. So I was just basically asking, I said the council would like to support it, but not me. So I'm just basically asking if somebody would like to put their head above the parapet again and volunteer to perhaps just pass the name forward to this subgroup to take this thing forward.
So I had a conversation with Councillor Marsh on this, as well as another matter, and she had asked that, well, she'd put herself forward for this, if it suits the council.
She did send me an email putting herself forward for something, but not this one.
Yeah, and the other one.
She only mentioned one on her email.
Did she? Maybe she changed her mind on that one.
I don't know.
Anybody here would like to do it?
Could I just ask, what does that entail? I mean, how many meetings, how long, how much?
I think they're just looking at just scoping out how to get it started. Apparently, there'd have to be a manager who perhaps liaise with Hatherley to sort of organise bits and pieces similar, but it's not what I'm trying to find here. It could be a private individual in liaison with other markets, but it won't be a town council responsibility to actually run it. They're just looking for somebody, like I sit on the board of Opera or whatever, just somebody to sit there and put a town council perspective on their moving forward.
Do you know how often the meetings will be?
That I can't tell you, but I mean,
Okay. I would be interested,
Right.
but I would have to find out
Yeah.
how often, because,
These meetings here are about every 2 months.
okay, that's probably doable.
Do it. That's all right.
That being the case, can we defer this? Councillor Young.
Just a bit of an idea. I mean, we've got Mayor's Tuesday in May, which is when we appoint people to outside bodies. Whether Councillor Bird just wanted to sit on it at least for up until then, and find out, and obviously if it's too much in it, because I know you work and you can't do it, then it isn't going to be a huge, long wait until we get to May, and maybe a bit more information could be found out about the frequency of the meetings, how often, how long they're going to go for.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. I just feel like somebody needs to step in and do it. It doesn't need to be me. I just think that if Councillor Marshall stood up fantastic, that somebody stepping into the void needs to
We
happen.
can clarify that.
Okay.
So, can I take that as a proposal?
Well, it would, I don't know, there's a proposal for what goes on the outside bodies, because that's done at Mayor's Tuesday, isn't it?
It is usually.
So,
Councillor Bird.
Okay, I'm happy to propose, if she's happy to accept the nomination, to propose Councillor Bird is appointed, and then in May, if you're happy and want to continue, but if not, it'll then sit as part of our next duty. Okay, so I'm happy to propose that for now.
Councillor Leach, the second. All in favour? It's unanimous.
Do I ought to abstain?
Oh, yeah, you should probably abstain, yes. One abstention. Item 13, Devon Town Champion Programme. This is the one you have the
This is the one that Councillor Marsh would like to be putting forward for.
So, to consider invitation from Visit Devon for the nomination of an individual councillor or member of the public to become an Oakhampton Town Champion. I'd like to propose Councillor Marsh. Councillor Young.
I'm happy to second it, it fits, she does so much and has done so much that she'd be perfect for the role.
Thank you. All in favour? That's unanimous. No abstention this time. 14. Wider Oakhampton Cluster Group meeting to receive an update from the meeting the 14th of January and consider agreement of terms of reference.
Councillor, you came to that meeting, I believe, didn't you? Do you want to provide an update?
I can't remember what it was by, I'll join in as I remember.
This one was at Sandford Court Day, and there were several, I can't remember how many, about 7 or 8 councils present, and I can't remember now, it's a while ago, I didn't bring my notes from that one. But yes, they are looking at potentially holding an annual meeting of the councils, so to include all councillors from the councils, both as maybe you can add in a training session or an information session, and also as a social, so that you can all sort of get to network and raise anything, talk about anything that might be of relevance to everybody. And thinking possibly in the summer for that. The next meeting is at North Taunton in April. They were talking about the roadworks and the bank closure, with all of the other parishes were going to put to their councils that they responded to the closure of the bank and asked for a banking hub or whatever they felt was relevant. And what was the other one? Those were the main items on there. Was the bank at that time and the roads. I can't think of what the others were. And just how we could move it forward, possibly looking at joint training and just getting everybody together really, and just how we could work together in the future.
Councillor Leach.
Would this be something that could be built on to make it like the Upward Links committees for the northern area?
Potentially.
Because it's certainly something that, in my opinion, missing with what's being done at the moment.
I mean, they were keen not to encroach too much on all the other towns, that each has sort of got its own hub with its council surrounding that. So rather than sort of taking over and doing a huge area, keeping it local to Oakhampton. But looking at things like, with LGR coming in, there might be things that we can work collaboratively on, whether we become the hub for whatever, or we can offer, have services, a bit like West Devon do with the toilet cleaning and have one contract that can cover bigger things. I don't know, there's all sorts of things that we could potentially look at in the future. So it's how we sort of can look at that, and maybe as a sort of money saving, admin role saving project, really, just as to support each other.
Councillor Lynch?
Going back some years, there used to be a system, I think it was called Connect. So it's actually run by West Devon, but each area had their own cluster, and they then coordinated that and brought information back to the centre. Maybe that's something the unitaries should start to think about as and when they get going.
Hopefully, they were also talking about, and just different councils were looking for information about policies, for example, and what we did and what North Taunton did, and sort of the sharing of information, really, to save reinventing the wheel.
I'll just add to that and say that the first meeting we had, because that was the second meeting, so the first meeting we had 4 councils, including us. I think there was a lot of trepidation from other councils, but obviously word spread a little bit, and even in the first meeting you could see how that sharing of information has started to take place, and to find out that we've almost doubled from one meeting to the next is quite gratifying. It looks like we're making headway there. It's quite good.
There is a draft terms of reference that they came up with there. So they're asking for councils to sort of agree that, if they would, as how they're going to work going forward.
I've read through that, and I'm happy to propose that we accept it as a council. Councillor
I'll
Thomas.
second that.
Okay, so we've got a proposal and a second. All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on. Oakhampton College all-weather pitch. We're item 15. Consider correspondence from Oakhampton Hockey Club requesting council support for the resurfacing of the pitch. Councillor Lynch.
Having been around a few years, this pitch has been a bit of an issue. It needs to be done, and it needs to be done regularly. But if you go back some years, it was an agreement that those using the pitch would put money into a sinking fund to make sure that this work could be done regularly, so it's kept in good condition. And it strikes me, I don't know where they are with that sinking fund. If it's just the hockey club looking at getting their bit towards the greater good, as it were, I'd like to see the whole scheme and how it has been managed for the last 10 years to make sure there's money to do this work. It's the same as the lights around the place and the tennis courts. They're all supposed to have sinking funds, so there's money ready to do the work when required. And in the past, that hasn't happened, and I'm not sure what's happening now. And I'd like to know before making any decision on this.
Thank you. Councillor Yellow.
Just looking at the report, and what they're actually asking for is for us to either provide advice on funding streams, a letter of endorsement for applications, or helping raise the profile of this community priority. And I would have thought we could, well, the advice on funding streams, I would imagine they're probably better informed on funding streams on sports things than actually we would be. But certainly, a letter of endorsement, if they wanted to put any funding applications, if we could support them through that, and promote their profile through this. I mean, Anybody else, but I mean, I've got a council Facebook page and I promote all community organisations anyway, so anybody who's got any social media could actually do that. So I'd be, happy to propose that we, say that we're willing to provide a letter of endorsement, if it would help them in any of their funding applications. Noting that Opera are actually the ones who are taking the lead on it.
So I've got a proposal. Do I have a second? Councillor Bird, second. All in favour? Any abstentions? One. Any against?
Abstain.
You've abstained.
Yes.
Sorry, I did that back to front.
You did?
didn't I?
Yes,
Again,
confused
good job Councillor Marsh wasn't here because she screwed me up for that. 2 abstentions. Item 16, Government Digital ID Scheme. Now, I was going to do a report, and I did write a report, and then they changed the track on it. So it went from being mandatory to being voluntary, and the whole thing seems to be completely in flux at the minute. It does seem to have a far wider reach potentially than is necessarily being touted, but as to where it's going to go at this moment in time, it's hard to tell. So I haven't written a report. Perhaps some of you have looked into it yourselves in the meantime. If anyone would like to pass comment, please feel free to do so.
Hang on. I'll catch up. No.
Councillor Leach, are you wanting to say something on this?
No, that's right. I thought we were going to add in the reports that previous mayors might be doing. This is just your report.
Yeah.
This is about the government's proposed ID.
Oh,
I
right.
think you jumped ahead of
Yeah, I
where you are in your papers.
Okay, yes, I have.
Councillor Richards.
Yes, as a matter of note, a matter of record, what I certainly have found just recently leads me to wonder whether in fact there is actually, for your information, a sort of a creeping digital ID scheme going on underneath our noses without people actually realising it. Because since having got involved with the CIC, I find that I'm being required constantly to be using this sort of one government login ID, and it's gone to driving licences, and it's in companies, and it's now in the Inland Revenue, and I was contacting the Department of Skills and Technology, and they wanted it for that. And I'm just wondering, Mr. Mayor, whether in fact this is happening behind the scenes, and to avoid the furore of advertising that such things are happening.
Thank you very much, Councillor Richards. A few people have spoken to me on this, and it certainly concerns me as well. I'm very concerned about the potential for Big Brother. I think it's something that we all need to be aware of. And yes, I think it's been quite pervasive, very underhanded. It is passports. We're soon going to have CCTV in every town and city, or major town and city in the UK. We'll have CCTV, which is governed by AI, which connects passport photographs to the movements of people, which I find quite disturbing. We only have to look at China to see how that can be abused. And as you said, there's your Inland Revenue, your driving licence, you have a digital ID for your NHS. You basically have a digital ID for everything.
Yes.
And it seems to me that it won't be long before that's all amalgamated into one digital piece of information, and it's who controls that. And I think that's something that we should concern ourselves with for our residents, and not to say the amount of people that will be left behind either by choice or by inability to actually come to grips with the digital era?
I think I could follow you as it's like a sort of Starsky and Hutch here. Yes, exactly. And therefore, that is the reason why this creeping digitalisation, it is to be feared if you don't understand it, which is exactly the reason why it is important for people to understand it and to seek help and advice from those who do understand it, who can provide the training and support.
Thank you. Noted. Councillor Leach.
Yeah, a couple of times quite recently, very recently, I've had to prove what I existed to who I am. And the last time included having to do with facial recognition, which has gone onto a database. And I asked exactly the same question as you. Where does that database go? Who then controls the fact that they've got facial recognition of me? Nobody can answer that. Does concern me, but it concerns me more at my particular age. I've got constantly to prove. Maybe it's just to prove I'm still here. I'm not sure. I have to be proving who I am. It's irritating.
May I just say in answer to your question, I can guarantee you that if you are not in a position to understand exactly who has your data, who owns your data, then the company that has collected it has broken the law. It's as simple as that, and they should be reported to the police, to the cybercrime authorities. It is an absolute requirement of the law of this country, and has been for 30, 40 years, that anyone who collects personal data must provide all the information about how that data is held, where the data is held, which it must only be held in the UK or in the European Union, and there must be a transparent mechanism to contact the controller of that data, so you may find out exactly what is being held about you, and that you have the opportunity to put it right if there's any information that is incorrect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Has anyone got anything else they'd like to say on this subject?
Not on this subject, I'm just going to point out we suspend standing orders.
Second time. Yeah, all in favour of suspending standing orders? Full house. So, anything more to be said on digital ID? No, moving on. 17 is finance to resolve payment of invoices in accordance with the schedule. Councillor Tully.
Mr Mayor, can I just inquire as to item 3? I just want to make sure my park staff aren't taking it easy.
It's all right. They're not lounging in a hammock.
Oh.
That's a play equipment.
Yeah. Thank you.
You lost me for a minute then. Councillor Young.
Confirm that these have all been double checked and signed today, so I'm happy to move that we approve these.
Second that.
Councillor Cummins to second. All in favour? Yep. Unanimous. 18. Policies and documents to resolve to approve the following policies and documents as recommended by the Policy and Resources Committee. I think we could probably do all these on block, can't we? So we have Councillor Employee Protocol, we have the Delegation Scheme, Dignity at Work Policy, Sexual Harassment Policy, Family Friendly Policy Pack. Statutory policies only. Councillor Leach.
If you proposed it, I'll second it. It's taken on block.
Okay, thank you very much. So, yeah.
If it's a proposal, is that from who?
No, it was my proposal. I'm just confusing myself. Tony jumped in before I was ready for it, really. So, yeah, I propose that we take it all on block, and I'm happy to propose that this is put through by the council and agreed to. Councillor Leach has seconded that. All in favour? All in favour. Thank you very much.
Just a quick question, can the town clerk please confirm through you that all of these policies and all other policies are in fact published on our website?
Policies are put there, yes. Some of them currently aren't, but as they're renewed, they are being reviewed.
Right.
Thank you.
But the ones that aren't are mainly just the staff ones that wouldn't be really relevant for members of the public because it gets a bit too much on the website otherwise. But I am adding them as I'm going, but historically they're not on there.
Okay, moving on to 19, Royal Garden Party nomination. 9 nominations have been submitted. 20, external body councillor representatives to consider nominating a councillor to replace Councillor Hart as representative to the Oakhampton Fair Trade Group.
Councillor Fisher is happy to be nominated.
In that case, I propose we nominate Councillor Fisher, and it's seconded by Councillor. All in favour? Well done, Councillor Fisher. Right.
He's on his cruise.
He is. 21, Civic. Mayor's Diary report. Well, having been a little under the weather, I haven't done a huge amount. My deputy stepped in on a fair few occasions, I think. I personally attended the roundtable award ceremony, which was very good. It's always nice to see the amount of things that are going on in town. They do fantastic work. And I had my coffee morning on Saturday, which did very well considering the town has been dead thanks to the traffic, or lack of traffic, should I say. And I think that's about all I've done as mayor since Christmas. But I shall probably be doing more very soon. 21.2 is Commonwealth Day, 9th of March 2026. To note the event which takes place outside St James's Chapel at 9:20 AM and to which councillors are encouraged to attend. So it'd be nice if as many of you as possible could make it there. I'm sure Jan will be there. Looks like Councillor Dexter's going to be there as well. Item 21.3, annual report for 25-26, to resolve to approve the format of the draft 25-26 annual report as available to date.
We were looking at potentially shortening the report because in the past years it's been several pages long. I don't know that anybody ever really reads it. Whenever we put copies out, they're always nearly all left behind. So we are looking at a front page with a statement from the mayor, and then some information that I've started, expanded on a little bit about the precept, the boundary change, the allotments, and not sure what else yet, and then some information about the grants and councillor attendance, as has been historical, unless anybody particularly wants to expand it and include other information.
I did submit my report, but just from that won't be now included. Is
I
that
can
what you're
include
looking at?
it if you wish to, but yours is the only one that, Councillor Leach did say he was going to do his, but yours otherwise is the only one that I've had from anybody.
Councillor Leach?
Are you now confirming you want a report?
This is what I'm asking the council as to whether they want all those reports included, which are generally pretty much the same year on year, or whether they want to keep it shorter.
Right, we've currently got all the chairs in attendance. So, as chairs, do you want to do reports?
Well, from a planning point of view, I think there are things that we should be adding to let the residents know exactly where we've come from and where they're possibly going. So I'm quite happy to do a report.
Councillor Bird, are you happy to do a report?
Yeah, that's fine.
Councillor Tully?
Yep.
And Councillor Yelland, I take it you're happy to do a report, having already done one.
Mine's already done too, actually, I was looking at this for Christmas, and I was to do it, so I did it when I was on my Christmas holiday.
We need these fairly promptly though, so by the end of this week or very early next week, if you could please.
Okay? 21/4, 26-27 meeting days to resolve to approve the schedule of meetings for 2026-27. Any comments, anyone? Councillor Young?
I'm going to comment on that, we just do propose that we approve the scheduled meetings for 26-27.
Seconder? Councillor Tully? All in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. So, moving into part 2, which is confidential. If you, sir, if you wouldn't mind getting in touch with us,
Yeah, I've already emailed.
that'd be great, thank you. Thanks. Part 2, confidential items only, items which may be taken in the absence of the press and public. The committee has recommended to pass the following resolution. Resolved under section 1 and 2 of the Public Bodies Admissions to Meetings Act 1960, public and press be excluded from the meeting for the following items, as they involve the likely disclosure of sensitive and confidential information. The proposer. Councillor Bird, second. Councillor Cummings, all in favour? It's unanimous.
Bear with me while
Thank
I
you very
just
much.